Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing fantastic actually, and that you're all having a great day. Question of the day is going to be, do you have any hobbies? What do you do? Like, what is the I ask as someone whose hobby has basically been like making YouTube videos. I had a ton of hobbies years ago, like playing video games and stuff, but for some reason, money has gotten to the front seat of that car. Anyway, yeah, let's jump right into it. So I feel like maybe we've gotten a little bit too far in one direction as far as a lot of the news that's been popping up is kind of like sensational. So remember how we had news before when Bitcoin was like 20,000 and people were like, well, hold on. There we go. That's a lot better. I had like headphones on and they were like, I was kind of just screaming into my own ear. I can't explain it. Remember before when we heard that like in 2024, Bitcoin's price might get to $50,000, and then we heard like Bitcoin's probably but by the end of 2024, Bitcoin would pass by $69,000 again. And we're like, yeah, that makes a lot, cool, logical, makes a lot of sense. 2025 will be the crazy year. Well, and then we also heard from, oh gosh, what was that person? Someone said recently that they believe by the end of this year, we're going to have a $150,000 Bitcoin. So that's April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Cool. Logical. Kind of makes sense. I can see it. Can you? Awesome. I don't know where these numbers are coming from a lot of people, but I feel like people need to like cool it like a little tiny bit. This was, of course, incredibly popular news, as one would logically assume. Renowned crypto analyst, his name is Anthony Pompliano, founder of Pomp Investments, recently pointed to a historical pattern indicating that Bitcoin's price might go to $138,000 in the next 18 days. By summertime, I can see a $90,000, $100,000 Bitcoin. By the end of the year, I could totally see a $100,000, $120,000. Totally see it. Totally see that happening. The next 18 days? Maybe. It says with Bitcoin recently breaking its all-time high at $69,000. Pompliano suggested a potential doubling, drawing attention to a fascinating trend. A lot of what we're seeing tends to be news about patterns and trends. You've seen it before, where people end up discussing what happened in previous cycles. And it's mainly because we do not have a lot of information to go on. While other markets have been around for 70, 80, 90, 100, 200 years, Bitcoin's been around for 15, and there's not a lot of information to really go on, so we go off of previous halvings, and this is why we also, this one kind of did come true. We heard at the beginning of this year that basically all the other market cycles didn't matter because this one was going to be so different. And look at where we currently are right now. So I guess it does make a lot of sense for those of you who weren't here for that video and don't understand what different means. It's basically that our price trajectory is going to be something quite different because we're not we're not the only ones in the market anymore. There are now institutions who are buying up hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin that we know about publicly, and it's also happening other places as well. So any idea that we could maybe only double or triple in price over the course of an 18-month period, it's kind of out of the window because the amount of growth in the market, the amount of accumulation, the amount of demand is far higher than we've ever seen before. So, right, continuing on. During a CNBC appearance, Pompliano highlighted a noteworthy observation suggesting that Bitcoin, now here's the weird part. He said that Bitcoin has doubled in price 3 out of the past 4 times that it went past its previous all-time high. 3 out of 4 times that we've had a halving and Bitcoin has gone over its previous all-time high, it took 18 days for it to double in price. What would you do if in the next 18 days Bitcoin skyrocketed before, oh my gosh, before the halving, before the letter B and the number 4. What would you do if before the halving in the next 18 days, Bitcoin went to $138,000 per coin? The other altcoins would lose their minds. They would probably all 5, 6, 7x in price as well. Holy guacamole. Drawing parallels to historical occurrences, he suggests that the current surge could lead to a significant price spike, reaching $138,000. Breaking a new all-time high triggers what Pompliano calls, it's not just him who calls it that, it's called price discovery mode. So basically, this happens every time in a lot of different markets. If you pass by a previous all-time high, no one knows what the air quotes true value is of an object then. And it's up to the market to literally for people to buy. And then at some point for the price to settle somewhere, and that ends up being the actual market rate of what that object or item is. So yeah, once we literally like surge again, we're basically trying to figure out where the price can go. I know it sounds ridiculous and very like basic, like, well, of course it's going up. No, it's like people literally are buying as much as possible or, accumulating what have you, just to see where the price can end up going. So while I understand, the word love is an understatement here. While I would love to see Bitcoin double in price in the next 18 days, bit of a backseat, and let's just say I can totally see $138,000 by December. If we hit $138,000 per Bitcoin in 18 days, and then we still have another like 22 days before the halving, that would put us to a $400,000 Bitcoin by the end of this year. That's why I said let's bring it back a little tiny bit, because I think people are just throwing out numbers hoping that they sound fantastical when they seem a little bit insane. Also, in very, very popular news, Robert Kiyosaki, who for some reason has managed to enter the cryptocurrency space's news every day, if I can say that in a very nice way. Author of the best-selling book known as Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'll say, if you haven't read up on the truthfulness of that book, I would implore you to do so. That will probably make your day. Robert Kiyosaki has reignited discussions within the cryptocurrency community by reiterating his bullish stance on Bitcoin. This man has been in the news every day since 2021 when the market was going up. He announced he was into Bitcoin. He loved Bitcoin because of life, liberty, and the pursuit of money or something like that. He's had a really weird shift years ago. So remember, I mentioned, for those of you who weren't here, I mentioned years ago when I was looking to get into investing, the first thing that I was looking at, because there was ads for it everywhere, was a gold and silver. And I was like, okay, cool. Robert Kiyosaki was one of the people who was constantly promoting gold and silver. And then I did my own research and found out that they weren't good investments at all, and the price of them weren't ever really moving, despite Mr. Kiyosaki constantly talking about that gold was going to $10,000 per ounce. At some point, he gained fame within the cryptocurrency space, as many others have, by simply saying, "I'm rich. You can be rich like me if you buy the thing that I'm also buying." It wasn't even a self-fulfilling prophecy. A dog on the street could have told you that Bitcoin was going to go up in price just based off of relative supply and demand, and I mean also because of BlackRock. However, he's constantly, I mean, literally, this man's in the news every single day, and he's now come out in something that will make him even more popular, is his Bitcoin price prediction. Robert Kiyosaki has stated that he believes by the end of this year, Bitcoin's price will reach $300,000 per coin. Now understand, these numbers make my wallet very happy. The altcoins would, I mean, I can't explain the amount of money that you would all make. But I also have to sit here and try and be realistic, especially as this is not a hype channel. Keep in mind that Bitcoin will go up, but my furthest expectation has been by the end of next year, 2025, we cap out at 300,000. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you disagree. Tell me if you don't care for what I'm saying. Tell me if I'm not being bullish enough. You know, like maybe I'm not. And I typically am a perma bull on the market. But I mean, being bullish also pertains to being like, oh, I could see 150K. I could see 120K this year. $300,000. So I'll put it to you this way. What typically, historically, since we're not in any other cycle anymore, this is, you know, brand new uncharted territory. What we've seen before, and I'll give it to you this way. At the end of 2016, Bitcoin was around $800, $900. By the end of 2017, 1 year later, Bitcoin was at $20,000. That is more than a 20x in price. The idea that Bitcoin by the end of this year would be at 300K is staggering for a number of reasons, because it means even on a light scale, if Bitcoin only, gigantic air quotes, only did a 3x in price, after that, by the end of the year, we would still see a $900,000 Bitcoin by 2025. This is going to happen, but the time frame doesn't match up to any logic, and that's with a 3x. Now imagine a 20x. I don't think we're going to be seeing a $6 million Bitcoin sometime next year. Do I think we're going to get a $1 million Bitcoin soon? Absolutely. And I mean soon as in like a decade. However, with a price prediction like this, of course, this became incredibly popular news. Because usually the perception is rich person talk. Rich person have money. They know money. This happened. In a recent post on Twitter, Kiyosaki urged his followers to capitalize on Bitcoin's current momentum, saying it's in fuego, it's on fire, and suggesting that the biggest mistake his followers could make is to procrastinate. I do lightly agree with him there, but I also will never tell people what to do with their money. But I've said it before. If you get a chance, have a conversation with your portfolio and look through it and see if it's time for, you know, maybe you to have a larger allocation of Bitcoin just because it looks like it's going to be the future. Yeah, very popular news. Mr. Kiyosaki completely knocked this one out of the water. Pompliano talking about $138,000 in 18 days. Oh, I'd probably go to like an island somewhere and just go on vacation for like a week. I don't know. That seems like a Seems like a nice thing to do. But Mr. Kiyosaki says $300,000 by the end of the year, so that's also a number. Yeah, those are some crazy Bitcoin numbers, and I guess here goes another crazy number. Not sure if you've been following the canine coins as of recently. They're back in the news. They're quite popular. If you missed it, Shiba Inu became the number 10 cryptocurrency, much to my surprise. I don't know if you remember watching that video. I was like, what? Number 10? Simply because it's a dog coin. You know, there are other coins doing stuff, but this one has a dog's face on it. So a lot of other ones have also been doing well as well. You got Floki, Moki, Doki, Choki coin. There's all these other different things. They all have animals and stuff on them. Those were all made up, by the way. Were they made up? You'll never know, because that's the cryptocurrency space. But now Dogecoin is back in the news because even like a couple days ago, we had news, for those of you who missed it. Charles Hoskinson made a very bizarre social media prediction. I know it was a joke. Got it. Ha ha ha. He said that he thinks that the bull run won't begin until Dogecoin actually passes by Cardano in price. And then I looked at the price and it was like 200 million away, and I was like, oh, that's a little bit weird. So now the idea is floating around exactly that. If you're looking at the screen, that is ridiculous. Up 356% on this photo. What? Anyway, a lot of people are now talking about where Dogecoin is going to go in price. And apparently there was is it somewhere around here? I don't know. It says of the price of the meme-inspired Dogecoin could allegedly surge by 550% over the current cryptocurrency market cycle, in a rally that a popular cryptocurrency analyst has dubbed, and I heavily quote, they said, "It is a relatively safe trade and it's got too much power," end quote. I myself would not call Dogecoin a safe trade simply because it is a coin with a dog on its face that is not widely accepted. I would conditional. I would, if we had heard that Fidelity and BlackRock were buying up Dogecoin. That would nearly solidify it for me. But to say a safe trade is it's a bit of a stretch. The popular pseudonymous cryptocurrency analyst called Altcoin Sherpa noted on Twitter that Dogecoin's price surge could partially be supported by its power, attributing it to the King meme and how it's supported by Tesla and SpaceX's CEO Elon Muskingson. And here's the tweet for it right here. I think we got to reel it in. I think we need to have a serious conversation. Is that a bird's nest? Oh yeah, it is. Anyway, that a coin is not a safe trade simply because Elon Musk and Tesla are supporting it. And I say this in the nicest way. I think a lot of people online might have missed the news that Tesla ain't doing so hot, and also that the valuation of Twitter has collapsed since the acquisition. Not saying that Dogecoin will, but I would put some of Dogecoin's metrics as far as like, is the team doing something? Does it have smart contracts? Are those smart contracts being used? Are companies buying Dogecoin? Have we heard any news recently about is someone mining Doge? Like, are mega companies mining Doge? What's the inflation rate of Doge? Will that ever be mitigated? Is it going to go down? Will a coin burn be implemented at some point? Are there NFTs on top of Dogecoin? Are those NFTs being purchased? Are they as popular as ordinals? How much money flows through Dogecoin in a single day? And I mean not on a cryptocurrency trading platform. The 24-hour volume does not matter because that can be manipulated. Are normal people using this to transact value? Are people in Argentina, El Salvador, in Turkey, in Southeast Asia, and parts of Africa, are they choosing Dogecoin to send value to their friends and family over Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin and Tether? That's why when we had the news the other day with Cardano being passed by Dogecoin, I was like, but Cardano's actually doing something. Cardano's like a major coin within this. But I mean, Logic also never really... Logic doesn't mean a lot in this space. So, cool. I think at some point Dogecoin will probably pass by its previous all-time high. It's probably going to happen after the frenzy of the halving, or during the frenzy of the halving, if you will. But cool. That's the Dogecoin. Might go by 550%. Rich Dad, Poor Dad says Bitcoin's going up to 300,000. And what was this guy's name? Pompliano says we have 18 days for Bitcoin to double in price. I mean, listen, I'd have a great spring, summer. And yeah, let's move on. I don't know if I warned you that the news was going to be a bit weird today. The news is going to be a bit weird today. Also in very popular news, and I mean, I think we could have all seen this one coming. I'll give you the background and then we'll go through it. So back in the olden days of around 2020, a lot of different cryptocurrency companies were beginning to offer different products to their customers. So the idea of just holding your coins was nonsensical. We can do so much more. So they decided amongst themselves, independently, that they would begin to offer different services, whether it was for staking, some form of passive income. Years ago, Coinbase had, I don't know if they still have it, they had something called Coinbase Earn, where you could go to Coinbase and literally learn about coins and you would earn money in those coins. It was very popular. You could take a little test, learn some about these coins, learn this so-and-so, and you would get $10 to $15 worth of said coin. Cool, fascinating way to get people into the market. And then that turned into the situation where a lot of companies were trying to figure out other ways to like maximize returns. So we had a number of other companies, cryptocurrency exchanges within the space who were like, you can get 4% on this coin. You can get 7% on this coin. And then we heard in unfascinating news that the Winklevoss twins had begun working with a company called Genesis, Alameda, and FTX. Unpopular news back then. Cool. They're always working with someone new. What ended up happening was, allegedly, is that Gemini began to work with Genesis, from the news, allegedly, that we heard, in an effort to give people on the Gemini platform a way to earn extra passive income. I believe, was it called Gemini Earn? I don't know what it was called, but it was something along those lines. Wonderful. That then imploded upon the idea that FTX had been a scam, had been terrible, and I told you all for like a year and a half that it wasn't, not that it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was blown out of proportion, and now we know exactly why. It was allegedly because FTX was becoming so big so fast that it looked like it was going to actually overtake Binance. And then we heard that apparently Sam Bankman-Fried had given money to a political party that Changpeng Zhao and Binance had nothing to do with. And then that's when Changpeng Zhao said something negative about FTX and Alameda and how they were scams. And I was like, well, that's great timing that you would say that as all this political stuff is going on. And then FTX and Alameda and Genesis were kind of dragged through the mud. And I told you all before, all these exchanges are exactly the same. They all do the exact same thing. So pointing at one of them and saying you're evil is nonsense because they all do Anyway, FTX was not the only one that did what it did, regardless of what you might have heard in the news. Part of this was that One of the co-companies, Genesis, also began to file for bankruptcy. It began to fall apart as well. The issue is that Genesis and Gemini were allegedly working together. And Gemini, trying to keep the squeaky clean image of themselves, began to go rabid on social media. A lot of you must remember, it was a really weird time. We almost never hear from Gemini. Every day in the news, the Winklevoss twins were talking about how bad this was and how terrible this was and how they're here for regulations and we're here to help the cryptocurrency community. We're here to help. They became these crypto televangelists. They began to talk about how wonderful and amazing the cryptocurrency space was, and it had to be purged of evil, and everyone put on your crucifixes, and all. It was really insane, completely out of nowhere. And then it kind of became a situation where I was like, you wouldn't scream that loud unless you had an association with someone allegedly, i.e., why would the Winklevoss twins and Gemini be screaming so loud about one particular company? We were told, allegedly, that it had to do with the fact that they were working together to get people whatever their passive income thing that they had was on Gemini. However, according to new information, it looks like it might have been a little bit deeper than that. What? That's crazy. I would have never guessed from all the screaming and hollering that we heard before. The Winklevoss's crypto exchange Gemini was apparently, allegedly, exploring an option to merge with crypto broker Genesis to compete with Coinbase and FTX. See how it's all lining up now? They were apparently, allegedly, trying to merge with this company, and as the company was going down, they did everything they could to distance themselves from them. Because if you're holding hands with something that you call the devil, even though you were just working with them, it doesn't look too good on camera. In October 2022, just a month before it's been that long? Jeez. Just before FTX filed for bankruptcy, Gemini co-founder Cameron Winklevoss discussed at a lunch with digital currency group, the DCG CEO Barry Silbert, about an idea of a closer partnership between the two companies that would make the joint entity a juggernaut to compete with Coinbase and FTX. FTX was becoming too big too fast. FTX was basically like the new Binance. For those of you who don't know about the story of Binance, Binance came out of nowhere. When I say nowhere, like blink, they're in front of you. Nowhere. It was insane. This was 2017. They came out of nowhere. They were a small crypto exchange. Coinbase was the largest crypto exchange, but the issue was that they were only offering like 11 coins. It was something ridiculous. And Binance was like, we're going to offer like 800 coins. And everyone was like, oh, snaps, and simply went to Binance. That's why in 2018, 2019, if you weren't here, but I mean, the amount of mudslinging in Binance's direction was obscene. The amount of news stories that Changpeng Zhao was some monster, that he did this, that he was from China and therefore couldn't be trusted. If you were here back then, you remember it was nonsense, and it was basically because they were offering what people wanted. People were like, we want other coins. Bitcoin and Ethereum and Dogecoin are cool, but what about the other coins that were out there? That started Coinbase's thing in 2018, 2019, where they were like, we're adding 9 million coins, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But Binance already had those coins, so we've been trading with them for a long time right now. FTX also came out of nowhere, and people caught notice, the crypto exchange owners caught notice very quick. That's why, hear me out here, when the entire FTX thing was happening, was going down on the news, I found it very interesting that the people who were commenting the most were people who were from large banks and institutions and BlackRock and Fidelity. You might remember on CNBC, they had really weird situations where I remember it was Jamie Dimon and a bunch of other representatives from these companies who were like, yeah, now the cryptocurrency space is a lot better. Now it's a lot cleaner. And it's like, we've had a bunch of other actually corrupt crypto exchanges completely collapse in front of us. and no one said a word. They was never on CNBC. One of them goes down that was going to become the largest crypto exchange on the planet, and now crypto's clean? Now crypto's okay? Huh, that's not weird at all. According to a recently revealed court filing, Cameron Winklevoss was, and I quote, intrigued about the idea of a closer partnership between Genesis, Gemini, and the digital currency group, including a potential merger of the companies, Silbert wrote in an email to other digital currency group executives. Silbert, according to the email, also warned Winklevoss at lunch about a potential bankruptcy of Genesis. He allegedly was warned. Remember the thing that the Winklevoss twins were in the news about? We had no idea this was happening. I had no idea. We know nothing about this company. We worked with them, but there was not. According to the email, Silbert also warned Winklevoss at lunch about a potential bankruptcy of Genesis, which in turn would put the exchange deposits at significant risk. Despite the warning, Cameron Winklevoss decided to continue to work with Genesis to mitigate that risk. What a life to be a time. This will surely unfold. This was also relatively popular news. I think a lot of the FTX saga has left people's minds. The people are no longer terrified about it. I told you not to be terrified before. You want to know the craziest part? We just had news, for those of you who weren't here. There was a massive amount of accumulation that took place from the end of 2022 to the middle of 2023. And it's believed... So how do I put this? It appears that during the downfall of FTX, when the public was told to be terrified, this was actually the time when a lot of these companies were accumulating as they saw the price of Bitcoin going down. Did they cause the downfall in the price? I don't know. Not really sure. But something definitely smells fishy on the blockchain. Yeah, crazy, right? Because you can find it. We had news a while ago where the Winklevoss twins were going insane, talking about how evil and terrible and horrible Genesis and Alameda were, and how they were going to take them to court, and you can't do this to our customers. And it's like, if those emails and court filings are actually true and they knew about all this stuff, I think that's definitely going to do it for this very weird video. I do hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.